they came out with a Mount Rushmore for every team. And who do you think they picked for the Vikings? Like one player, Fish. Who's on that Mount Rushmore?
Got to be Fran.
And it's on there. Rinaldi?
Yeah, I mean, Page is probably the best all-around player for Minnesota.
Page is on there. Shaq?
Well, since they chose people who played before my time, I'm going to say Randy Moss had to be on there.
And that's kind of where there might be some disconnect here. Randy Moss is actually not on there. Adrian Peterson was on there. And Chris
Carter.
So, Shaq, with you saying Randy Moss, how do you feel about Chris Carter being on the Mount Rushmore over Randy Moss?
So it's kind of like it has nothing to do with more so Chris Carter because he was a phenomenal receiver for us. But it's like I feel like it's different when we actually draft a player and then they actually turn out to be elite versus we sign the player and they turn out they elite somewhere else. So it's kind of like even if we compare Randy Moss to Chris Carter, it's more like Randy Moss is more of a Viking than Chris Carter because we drafted him and we see him at his height. Yeah, he had some off the field issues and he wasn't really I guess you could say a nice person, Minnesota nice, but he changed the league. So it's kind of hard for me not to see Randy Moss being on the Vikings Mount Rushmore.
That's fair. I mean, Chris Carter played almost double the seasons not double the seasons, but like that's what did Randy play here? 7 seasons, 8 seasons?
7 at 98. Yeah, it was like 98, 99.
And I think Chris played like 12 or 13.
Yeah.
So there might be some longevity to that. So like David said about Thielen, to me, like there's no question about it. You talk to somebody about Chris Carter, they got Vikings in their mind. If you're talking to somebody about Randy Moss, depending on who you're talking to, they might be thinking Patriots. I mean, I'd
like to offer a substitution option too.
No, thank you.
I know you're going to go.
What I was thinking was, no, what's up, Fish?
I love Adrian Peterson, and I thought he was great and all that. But the fact that Randall McDaniel is not there instead of him is a crime. 14 seasons in the NFL, 12 seasons with us, 7-time All-Pro, first-team All-Pro, 2-time second-team All-Pro with us. Missed 2 games his entire career.
Wait, what, really?
2.
I didn't know that. I mean, I never thought about it.
His sophomore season, he played 14 games, started 13. The rest of them, I think his rookie season, he was in 16. He started 15. He was in and started like every game his entire career.
Dude, that's freaking pretty amazing. And that's pretty crazy. Like, I've never heard that when I hear people talk about him.
He's got the 80s curse, right, Fish?
88, yeah.
I don't care what anybody says. If somebody says who's the best guard in Vikings history, most people are going to say Steve Hutchinson. It is not Steve Hutchinson. It was Randall McDaniel. And anybody that says it was Hutchinson didn't see him play. That dude was a powerhouse and an athlete. Unbelievable.
I can agree.
And now that I think about it, the fact that he was drafted in 88, the year after, the draft after we went to the NFC Championship game again, the forgotten NFC Championship. And then he lasted for 12 seasons where he made it all the way through till 98 when we went. And the other thing that people might detract from, he had that funky stance.
Yep.
Where he had that one leg kicked out. But the dude was just, words cannot describe how there was no such thing as an inferior interior line with Randall McDaniel in the lineup.
So, Fish, since you're like replacing Adrian Peterson with Randall McDaniel, which I'm not totally against, it's just hard for me to do since like I remember Adrian Peterson a lot more than I remember the best guard for us, which I do know Randall McDaniel, but watching Adrian Peterson was something special that I never really witnessed as a Viking fan. what would be your Mount Rushmore? And it doesn't have to necessarily be from inception. It could just be from your time really focused in on the Vikings. Just what is it and how you qualify it.
Are we saying best players or favorite?
This one I'm going to go like with the greatest. Like who are the greatest? Who should be the Mount Rushmore? So on this one, it was Fran Tarkenton, Alan Page, Chris Carter, and Adrian Peterson. How are you revising that?
Even though I was little, I'm still going to say Fran. He's the entire reason I'm a Vikings fan, watching him, being a kid, watching him around. Fran. Then I'm going to go Randall McDaniel. Then I'm going to go Randy Moss. And then I'm going to go I just don't remember Alan Page enough. Like I saw Fran. Fran stuck out to me, but I just don't remember. I don't remember Alan Page enough. So because I don't remember Alan Page enough, I got to go with my favorite Viking of all time,
CJ Ham.
John Randall.
I was close, right?
CJ Ham made me laugh. John Randall's a good pick, though, Fish. I love that.
Yeah, it's a really good pick, Fish.
Yeah.
Same question to you, Rinaldi. Like, it's Fran Tarkenton, Alan Page, Chris Carter, Adrian Peterson. Is that yours, or where are you making some changes?
I got to go with the guys that I'm gonna steal Fish's take, at least as far as how I'm going at it. I have to go with guys that I actually really have a feel for. I will go Tarkenton. I will go Randall. I like that pick a lot. I think, and this is just players, but I mean, not even just mentioning Bud Grant is an egregious mistake. He's an icon. So if you count him as a Viking, he'd be on it. If not, the more I think about it, the Carter Moss debate, I was initially a Carter guy on that topic. However, I'll say this. What Moss did for the Minnesota Vikings was bring more fans to the fan base as a Viking than anybody else. And for that reason, I'll call him an eternal Minnesota Viking. I don't like the fact that he was gone after 6 or 7 or 8 years, however many it was. I don't like the fact that he probably won't go in fully as a Minnesota Viking to the Hall of Fame. But because of what he did for the fan base in '98, he's a Viking eternally. So I'll go with those 4. If that was 4, I think it was.
Fair.
Here's the 20 more years, David.
Yeah, boy.
Woo! And that's fair because Packer fans got to deal with the fact that Brett Favre has a Viking jersey hanging in his locker in the Hall of Fame. What about you, Shaq? What's your Mount Rushmore?
So my Mount Rushmore is probably going to be a little bit of, some players who might not go to the Hall of Fame and who's definitely going to the Hall of Fame. So like you guys said, Randy Moss would be up there. Adrian Peterson would be up there. And then my other 2 guys, it would be Harrison Smith, because when you watch him play, he does everything you want from a defensive player. He could get the sacks. He could get the interceptions. He get tackles for loss. And he get pass breakups. And it's like, watching him play, it just fascinates me. If you just put the spotlight on Harrison Smith lining up on the line with the linebackers, or dropping back deep pass, covering the deep ball back in his younger days when he used to just catch picks. When Aaron Rodgers or any quarterback just throw it deep, there's a chance that Harrison Smith might be back there catching the pick. And then my last player would be Percy Harvin, because whenever you watch him play, he was just explosive. It's just he couldn't get past the migraines. So it's like, if he would have never had those headache issues, I feel like his career could have been maybe 5 times better than what it was.
Oh, absolutely. When he was on the field, he was electric.
No doubt. Somebody mentioned Chris Dolman, too. I think he's worth an honorable mention. That dude was a monster.
He is an
Rest in peace, Sackmaster.
Sorry, my thing froze up for a second there, and Dolman is an honorable mention, and I really wanted to put him on mine. So mine, I kind of went with the players that I watched growing up that I thought were the greatest, and that was John Randall, Chris Carter, Randy Moss, and Adrian Peterson, which I know is pretty freaking basic, but when I thought about it, that's what it was. And at first, I had Dolman over Moss. but I just kept thinking about it and fighting with myself about it. And for most of the reasons you laid out, David, about talking about Randy Moss is why I ended up putting him in there over Dolman, even though, yeah, it's an honorable mention. If there was 5 on the Rushmore, it would have been Dolman for me.
The unfortunate thing about our franchise is that we don't have the Super Bowl titles, but we have a ton of great players.
What a really good legacy we have, man. Honestly, what a great fucking team it's been for a long time.
If we have people watching on Twitter, can you please leave a comment, just because this is the first time we've ever streamed to Twitter, so I'm trying to learn some of the controls and figure some stuff out here, so it'd be a great help if you could just drop a comment. And if we don't respond to you, that means I don't see it, and I have to figure that out. So thank you for that.
Elon, drop us a dime.
Rinaldi, would yours change at all if I told you, like, what would your Mount Rushmore be of favorite Vikings?
Oh, yeah, for sure. I mean, I've definitely had favorite Vikings. I mean, and I think you guys already might guess mine. Number 44, Chuck Foreman, would be on my favorite Vikings list for sure. I liked Sammy White a lot on that team too. Number 85, baby. He was fun to watch. These are favorites is a different thing. I think, to me, as I get older, I don't have as many favorite guys. Like I'm not as fanny as I was as a kid. So all my real favorites are the guys that were late 70s, mid to late 70s, early 80s guys are my favorites. I put Tommy Kramer on it too, man. He was fun to watch. He was a nut. He was weird. I enjoyed him. So yeah, I mean that's a different conversation to me. But I'm not as much of a fan as far as idolizing a player as I used to be as a kid, right? And I think we're all kind of.
I totally get that. I've said it many times on this show that Harrison Smith is my last favorite player. So I'm more about, especially because they change teams so much, like you just can't get attached to players, no matter if it was a kid thing or just something you did. They don't stick around that long like Harrison did.
I got to throw something out there though. I'm pretty excited about watching McCarthy come up. I want to be a fan of that dude. So I will say this: I'm hopeful to be a fan again, and I think he's got what it takes to make me that. I hope he's good enough to do it. Let's see.
Yeah, and it's going to be fun to actually watch the progression. And since he's probably not going to start this year, might not even play this year, like we're going to get a whole year of still hope, like before we see something that dashes our hope. So that's kind of cool. But yes, we're going to get to see this whole journey, and that's kind of a cool thing. But I'm going to be honest, like I hope it's a quick thing. Like I just hope it's one of these things like when he first comes in and we see him play, like, oh my gosh, we got one.
You got one. Yeah, you know it.
And I know it doesn't have to be that. Like he can come out and have a dud and things to get better, but I just want that feeling of, oh damn, we might have something here.
And how many times have you had it though? Peterson, Moss, Percy Harvin. I had those feelings that the first time you saw those guys play, man, you're like, what is this? We got something here.
Well, how great would it be to have that from a quarterback?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So what about you, Fish? How would your Mount Rushmore look if we were going off like your favorite Vikings?
All right. Well, John Randall stays on. And then we're going to Warren Moon, Scott Studwell. He was back in high school. Scott Studwell, man, just that picture of him with the bloody jersey. He just looked like a damn football player. And I'm going to give a little recency bias to my fourth because it was real hard for me to come up with a fourth. But a guy that was a good player who wore his emotions out on his sleeve and is now experiencing all kinds of problems, I'm going to go Everson Griffin.
I love that.
I love me some E. I loved when he played. The crazy shit that he was doing when he got off his meds. I was rooting for the guy to get better. I wanted him to come back last year. Really, I wanted him to be in a better place and just come back. I wanted it. So there it is.
What school he went to?
Honorable mention, C.J. Ham. Honorable mention, Chris Hovan. Honorable mention, Jeff George.
Now you're talking to Mount Rushmore I expected from you. Honorable mentions is what I thought you were going to come with. What about you, Shaq? You got a favorite Mount Rushmore?
Yeah. So if I had to change my Mount Rushmore for my favorites, it'd be Chris Cook, Asher Allen, Corey Rubin
Bashard Breeland.
and Gus Farrat, the underachievers.
Okay, I actually believe you about Gus Farrat. I don't know about the other ones.
But my Mount Rushmore won't change. It stayed the same. My favorites is who I would have on the Mount Rushmore.
Come on, man! You got to put Terrence Newman in there somewhere. That man played until he was my age.
See, he's not
crazy. Fun fact about Terrence Newman.
Oh, let's hear it.
I was so mad because I was like, man, why do we have Trey Waynes? Start Trey Waynes. We got Terrence Newman old ass playing these games. I'm like, we just drafted the cornerback with the 13th pick, put him in. We had Trey Waynes on the bench for 2 years.
I just remember every offseason I'd see that article that says Terrence Newman went back in to work out to see if he could still do it, and then he was on the team. And I was like, oh my god.
Like, oh my god.
So me, I probably keeping Jared Allen on there.
Jared Allen's a great pick.
I didn't mean to put Jared Allen there. I read your comment and fucked me up.
Come on, dude. It's a great pick.
Well, he was like a favorite, but he probably wouldn't make my Rushmore. John Randall would make it. Chris Carter would make it. Then I'm probably putting Dolman on there. And then Robert Griffith. I really liked him.
I'm going to tell you something.
That's a great pick too, man.
Your Mount Rushmore is going to have a hell of a lot of sacks in the season.
Yeah. Hey, I'm going to make the
Allen, Dolman, and Randall.
It's not really Allen. I didn't. You're right, but I didn't have Randall. It's Chris Carter over Jared Allen for me.
How is Case Keenum not on your Mount Rushmore?
Because it's only one season, I just can't get him there. I don't know, but if I had to put together like my best team, he might be the quarterback.
Hey, yeah.
I'm just saying, he might be the quarterback. He might be leading this Mount Rushmore on the field if I had to do it that way, and maybe I will have to do that in the future episode.
Each of our all Vikings team, huh?
Yeah.
Fill out our own roster.
Something to think about.
Yep.